Okay, guys, welcome back to Open Your Eyes, broadcasting from Roswell, New Mexico. I'm Vic.
And I'm Luke.
And thank you guys for tuning in today. I really hope you're enjoying the music today. So, if it seems we're kind of rushing, I'm sorry, but we have a lot to cover on the show. We got permission to go a little over on our time if we have to, but we want to try to get to everything.
That's right, and I think you guys are really going to enjoy today's episode. We have a special guest on, but before we talk about that, Vic?
Yeah, so I know we don't normally cover the news on this show as much as Barclay used to, but today there is some important news I thought you guys should hear if you haven't already. Now, as you guys know, a couple years ago, the company SpaceX, which was trying to handle the future of space travel and space exploration, went belly up. Well, it was announced this morning that Tesla, Elon Musk's other company, is officially going out of business. Now, we're not sure what happened with it. This just happened not so long ago, so we're still following the news, but the biggest electric vehicle maker on the planet is now gone.
I can't believe that. Just gone overnight. What do you think happened?
You know, I have no idea. Maybe they just ran out of money like SpaceX?
Such a shame. I feel bad for all the people who invested on the stock market. You know, they had like $8,000 per share now, so all that money is just gone.
Yeah, that's going to make a lot of people very upset that a lot of their wallet was taken overnight.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then story number 2, and this is a big one. President Thompson announced today that he will be expanding the Space Force operations. Of course, the Space Force was separated from the Air Force into its own military branch in 2019 when President Thompson signed the National Defense Authorization Act. This expansion includes a bigger budget of an additional $600 billion to go towards aiding the colonization of Mars. We still don't have anything substantial there yet, but, you know, I'm sure that's what this announcement is about.
It certainly makes me excited.
Yeah, you know, I'd like to know that maybe not our grandchildren, but maybe our grandchildren's grandchildren could be walking, talking, and eating on Mars.
And as of right now, it seems to be safer than some places here on Earth. Won't have to deal with hurricanes, typhoons, tsunamis, none of that.
Nah, wouldn't that be a dream?
Yeah, I mean, look at things like Hurricane Katrina and Hurricane Morgan back in 2013. Just absolutely destroyed Connecticut, the edge of New York, and Pennsylvania.
Yeah, just devastating. You know, one day we'll be able to give all that up to only deal with wind and dry air, you know?
Yeah. All right, well, like we said, we have a special one for you today. Somehow, despite Vic's horrendous skills as an interviewer, we were able to secure a guest for today's show, and an interesting one at that.
Yeah. But before we get going on this, can I get you something, Luke? Maybe a scalding hot cup of coffee for your lap?
Ha! Just run it, funny man.
Well, our guest is a very prestigious woman. Some of you may have heard of her if you follow this field. Her name is Dr. Gloria Leskowitz. She holds a PhD in anatomy from Duke University. She also holds a PhD in biology and a PhD in English history and literature. She currently is a professor at Haldwell University in Colorado, which moved there after the flood of the West Coast. There she teaches ancient folklore. She is now a very well-established cryptozoologist, and that's why she's here today, to talk about cryptids. We wanted to get a real cryptozoologist on the show to talk about this one. We have her on right now. Dr. Leskowitz, you're on.
Hi, Vic and Luke. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. It's really great to have someone as world-renowned as you on our show.
Thank you.
So, for our listeners who may not be as familiar with cryptids or follow them as much, could you please go ahead and give a brief overview of what they are and what they're like?
Yeah, sure. So a cryptid, contrary to what people believe, is just any kind of creature that has been claimed to exist, but is lacking full proof of existence. Some people lump cryptids in with, or even think they are, these mythological, fictitious creatures, such as the unicorn or the minotaur. But that's not really what they are. In order to be a cryptid, there needs to be a significant amount of people to claim that this creature exists, but is lacking substantial evidence for us to definitively say it exists. Things like the Sasquatch or the Loch Ness Monster, even the Chupacabra.
Right, but what kind of evidence is needed to upgrade something from cryptid to an actual animal? Right? Because some of these things, there are so many people, like you said, that say it exists and claim to maybe have seen the creature. Others have drawn what they saw, and, some even have pictures, as blurry as they may be. But, that's evidence, wouldn't you say?
So that's a loaded question. So let's just break it down a little bit. Drawings are not really evidence of any kind. It's not like going to the police and they sketch a drawing of your attacker. These are creatures that you are claiming exist, when the very laws of nature contradict you a lot of the time. The drawings are not evidence of anything. But what you would need is definitely some clear pictures. That could be seen as evidence that would lead to the possibility of people believing something exists. Even if you take a look at some of the photographs that some of these people have taken. Let's take the Sasquatch, for example. If you take a look at the photographs taken of the Sasquatch, they're very blurry, and they can easily be explained away. Explained through hoax an abnormally large animal that looks like that, or even just a person in a suit. I use the Sasquatch as an example because it is probably the most well-known cryptid. But if it certainly has no proof for even existing other than what people say. But there does need to be a lot of research on the topic to definitely say.
Speaking of researching, I want to get this question out of the way quickly before we go any further. A lot of people out there, including your fellow peers in the field of science, say that cryptozoology is not real. It's a pseudoscience.
Yeah.
So my question is, do you consider it a science, or do you see it as more of a hobby that has taken its role in your life very seriously?
Thank you for asking that question. So if you take a look at the schools, you're not going to find classes on cryptozoology. You're not going to be able to find that kind of stuff in your accredited university. I'm not sure what you could find at your local community college, but I do know that out of all the universities in this country, there's not one class related to cryptids. And that is because, like you said, people think it's a pseudoscience. Part of doing what I do is taking the time to investigate claims, not just take someone's word on something. There are some cryptozoologists out there that do just blindly claim things, and I think that's what gives us a bad reputation. But I do believe that this should be an accredited field. I mean, look how far ufology has come. People still laugh at that, but has become more respected among the scientific community in a way. They don't have classes at a lot of colleges, but some of them do offer them. All we need is to be taken seriously, that what we do is important. You wouldn't tell a paleontologist to stop looking for new dinosaurs.
You wouldn't tell a paleontologist to stop looking for new dinosaurs. I like that.
Yeah, I do too, actually.
There's our surprise of the day, folks. Vic likes something about our topic.
Ah, yeah. So, Doctor, are you saying that, we should just believe what people say? That they saw something, some kind of new creature, and we should just add it to a long list of new animals to check out?
No. And as I said earlier, there are a lot of people in my field that will do that and then leave it at that. They don't take the time to do research and do field work to cross it off the list.
Right. You say field work. Tell us, what is that process like? Do you have a checklist of what to do when something comes across your desk, or is there...
Why don't I just take you through the work?
Actually, that sounds great.
When something comes across my desk, the first thing I do is read what happened. What was the sighting and from who? If it's a new creature, then I do some new research on it, and if it's even possible for something to survive the way it was explained.
So, do people make stuff up a lot?
There are a lot of hoaxes and fictional sightings I see on a daily basis. It's very tiresome to go through them all to find the few credible ones. But from there, I send an email or I give a call to whoever sent it, and if they leave me a point of contact, if not, I usually leave it because if there's no contact, then it must not be important or even real. But I get into contact with them and I set up an interview. Now, the interview part is the most important part.
How so?
When you're interviewing someone, and especially if you've been doing this as long as I have, you start to get to know people's tells.
Their tells?
You mean if they're lying, correct?
Exactly. Are they lying? Are they exaggerating? Is this all a big hoax? All those questions are important. If they're lying or even trying to hold back laughter the whole time, it's obvious people are trying to waste your time. But if they're not lying, then you walk right into, are they exaggerating? Do they remember correctly? Because you have to remember, your brain can trick you into believing something different when you're scared. From there, how do I just determine what they mean when they say describe something?
What do you mean by that?
Luke, how would you describe the Statue of Liberty?
I don't know. I guess it's a huge statue of a lady holding a torch.
There you go. Now, Vic, do you see what's wrong there? What is wrong with that description?
Other than the fact that it was given to us as a gift, I would say that's pretty good.
Exactly. That's the problem.
What is?
Huge. How huge is it? There needs to be a description in every little detail for me to understand what you're trying to tell me. If you tell me that a big hairy ape man attacked you, I'm gonna think you're nuts. And then I'm gonna say, what do you mean by big? Is big 6 feet tall? Is big 10 feet tall? A skyscraper is big. What do you mean?
Gotcha.
Right, so if I deem that the interview was fine and deserves field work, then that's the next part. I take what I learned from the interview and I go to where the sighting was. I try and find any evidence or signs that what they said was there. Was there. I have been able to find a couple things on some trips, but the majority come home with nothing. I have secured enough evidence that I do believe that the Sasquatch is real. People seem to think that it's just one animal, so they call him Bigfoot. But honestly, I think there's a whole line of them. But all signs point toward it being an endangered species. From my research, I've come to believe that it is very likely that it is a mutation before the evolution to Homo sapiens.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. What makes you say that?
Yeah, I'm kind of eager to understand this.
I've discovered hair that doesn't test the same as primates and other apes. And it is a tad similar to our hair. The hair we have on our heads is very similar to the hair that I've found in places that I have found the Sasquatch sightings. I have found them in around these giant foot tracks.
Right, but couldn't that just be human hair then?
No, it doesn't match that of a human hair. But it is close. That's why I believe it was a mutation before it evolved into who we are today as a species.
And are there any others that you believe in?
Believe in? Yes, I have faith there are a number of others out there. Evidence? No. There are some that I'm still researching and some I am still going through evidence on that I believe is promising. But I don't want to share it on the air until I'm done with my work.
Right. That's understandable.
But there are a number of cryptids out there that I think are roaming around as an endangered species. I think about half the ones that come across my desk, I believe, and the other half, I don't.
And what comes across your desk?
Lots of sightings. When you're dealing in this realm and you actually have a scientific background instead of just calling yourself a cryptozoologist, like most do, the amount of things that come across your desk is staggering. You have the staples like the Sasquatch and the Chupacabra, and the Loch Ness Monster. But then you have newer ones like the Asivacus and the Cadet that requires a lot more work to check out.
I think we're all familiar with the first three, but what were those other two?
Yeah, so the Asivacus, and I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly, but it's a creature that was discovered in Spain around 15 years ago. It's a hybrid word similar to Chupacabra. It comes from Asino, which means killer, and Vacus, which means cow. Together they make Asivacus, which is supposed to be a creature that attacks cows. From descriptions and drawings, it looks kind of like an alligator, but about 4 feet long instead of the average 8. It has razor-sharp teeth and a very long tongue. Sort of like a frog, so it can shoot its tongue out towards prey. It got its name from sightings that it was attacking cows around the area. My guess is there was some cows mutilated and people saw an animal there never seen before and it caught on. But I haven't done enough research on this yet. So, while it may sound intriguing, jury's still out on it if it's actually existing.
Huh. Interesting. Well, what about the other one?
The cat. This one is a little out there and kind of makes me laugh, but I need to do more research before I dismiss it. This one is a little more recent as people have started to reporting it more in the past 5 years in Vietnam, as they started tearing down the jungle to build more infrastructure. So, Kadat literally means earth fish. Supposedly, it's a fish that can swim out of the water and walk on land. And it has one large sharp tooth to drain the blood of its prey. I have yet to interview anyone on this one, but something tells me this just becomes a new urban legend.
Really, a walking fish, huh? Yeah, what do you think of that, Luke?
I think I want to eat the fish, not the other way around.
It's not uncommon for what people think about as cryptids to just turn out to be and even start out as an urban legend.
Really, that's common.
Of course. Some are just plain stories from around the campfire that people have turned into cryptid sightings.
Like what?
I think one of my favorites has to be the Hagamishi. Are you familiar with that?
No.
No, not me either.
So the premise of this one is really strange. Are you familiar with the suicide forest in Japan?
Yes.
Well, I'm not.
So, for those listeners, and Vic, who doesn't know, the suicide forest is a forest in Japan that has become known for its extremely high numbers of suicides. It's the most used place for suicide in the entire country. It got to be so bad that they put up a sign in front of it telling people to think about their families and their loved ones. The police even stopped reporting the suicides to try to stop their reputation.
Man, that's just so sad.
It is. And what's even sadder is people have come up with this creature called the Hagamishi. I don't buy this one, but if it ever comes across my desk, I'd love to go check it out. Now, Hagamishi literally translates to encourager. So, in essence, it is a creature that encourages people to commit suicide. Whether these people have gone inside the forest for the purpose of killing themselves, it is said that this creature meets you deep into the forest and encourages you to kill yourself, push you over the edge so you want to die as much as possible.
And have people said what it looks like?
Yeah, supposedly, it is around 6 feet tall and covered in fur. It resembles a native Japanese spotted deer, but it walks on 2 legs. Its feet have similar shape to the deer, but no hooves. Just 3 toes in the shape of a hoof. It has a small antlers, and they say that this is why the forest has become what it is.
Right, so how does it encourage a suicide?
I'm not sure. I don't know if it talks or if it communicates in some other fashion, but I'd love to learn more straight from the Japanese culture.
Me too. You know, that is just fascinating. Now, I'm sorry, Doctor, but we do have to take a break here for a song. But stay with us, guys, because in a few minutes we're going to be taking your calls so that you can ask Dr. Leskowitz some questions.
We'll see you guys after the song.
Someone broke the line, and wires all got crossed. Newspaper laughs and scorn from my loss. Standing up on a bridge, telegraph my play. Silence of the real world is all I hear today. Free me, free me, free me now. Let go the chain, speed the plow. Free me, free me, free me now. Break off this chain, let me go. I'm a scene from a bridge, like news of the day, like Twitter is the trash. It's all come my way. up to the media. I'm face down in a storm. Truth in a fakeness. We gotta get it wrong. Free me, free me, free me now. Let go these chains. Speed the blow. Free me, free me, free me now. Take off these chains. Let me go now. Free me, free me, free me now. Break off this chain. Speed the plow. Free me, free me, free me now. Break off this chains. Break. Well, someone crossed the line, and the wires got crossed. Someone crossed the line.
Welcome back, everyone. If you're just tuning in today, we have Dr. Gloria Leskowitz with us, a cryptozoologist who has an accredited background in many different areas such as anatomy, biology, and even English history and literature.
That's right. Thank you again for joining us, Doctor.
My pleasure.
Right. So, right before the break, we said that we'd be taking your calls and you could ask the doctor some questions. Are you ready, Doctor?
Yes, I am.
Great. Let's get started.
You're on the air with Vic and Luke. Who are we speaking to?
Hey y'all, I'm Jerry from Fairbanks.
Hi, Jerry.
Thanks for calling in, man. So go ahead and ask your question.
Thanks guys. So, Dr. Leskowitz, my question has to do with you. Did you find it difficult to transition from being a well-respected scientist to what most people would consider to be fake science and, well, laughing stock?
You know, my whole life, people have told me that I was weird, and they told me that I wasn't smart enough to make it as a scientist. But it's what I wanted to do. So I just pushed forward and continued my life. I just decided not to care what people think. When I went through that period in my life where I found things that other people don't believe in, I was treated the same way, like I was stupid, and that I would never be successful. But look at me, traveling around the world, doing what I do, and I've actually gotten some people to listen to me. I do the same thing I did when I was younger. So no, that wasn't very difficult during that transition. What was difficult was my schooling. Thank you for that question. Nobody ever really cares to ask me questions like that.
Well, thanks for answering.
All right. Thank you for calling in, Jerry.
Thanks for having me, guys. Y'all have a good day.
Yes, thank you, Jerry.
All right. You're on with Vic and Luke. Who are we speaking with?
This is Don from Mountain View.
Oh, I love that area.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Never been.
What? Really? You know, it's not too far.
Yeah, come on down, guys. We'll grab a drink together.
Yeah, maybe.
All right. So what's your question, Don?
My question is, Doctor, what do you think of sandworms?
When you say sandworms, I'm assuming you're not talking about the creatures from the novel Dune.
No, the 15-foot-long guys in the Sahara Desert.
Oh, okay, so you're referring to the Dudat al-Moti.
Yeah, that.
I'm not familiar with that one.
Yeah, neither am I.
So, it's Arabic to English translation literally means death worm. They're about 12 to 15 feet long, and they hide in the desert waiting for travelers to eat. But not many people travel across the desert, so when the few that do come around, they attack them violently because they're so hungry. But a death worm is said to be able to go around about 4 months without food.
Wow.
Now, as far as what do I think, that's a very loaded question. So I'll answer what I think you're trying to ask. I've never seen it come across my desk. I've seen interviews with people where they have said they come across or one or maybe two, but the thing with that is I've never been able to do any research on it. I only research what comes across my desk, unless it's a big one like Sasquatch or the Yeti. My personal thoughts on this are that is nothing more than a hallucination.
So you think it's just a mirage?
Well, no. People often confuse a mirage with a hallucination when talking about the desert. A mirage just means you think you are seeing water where there isn't. That's a mirage. It happens when light passes through two layers of air with different temperatures. In fact, you can get a mirage in the winter just driving down the road on a highway. I'm sure you've experienced where you think that there's a puddle of water, but then you get closer and there's nothing. But that's a mirage. But they are most common in the desert. You start to see hallucinations when you start to get overheated. That's what I'm talking about. If you're walking through the desert, odds are you're going to get hot. And there's no water anywhere unless you brought some. But either way, eventually, after being 20 minutes of overheating, you're going to start hallucinating. That's where I think these sightings come from. Because there never has actually been a confirmed death from one of those worms. But if it comes across my desk one day, I will investigate. I give you my word.
Thanks, Doctor.
You're very welcome.
All right, you have a good day, Don.
Thanks. Let's grab that drink sometime.
Yeah. Maybe when we're in the area, Don, all right? Bye now.
Bye, guys.
All right.
So we have time for one more caller, and this one we actually screened because we wanted to find a caller that would talk about a particular subject. So we did screen calls until we found one, and we saved him for last.
Yeah, we did a little research and we found out your favorite cryptid that you like to research, investigate, and talk about.
Oh, really? Oh, this will be great.
We think so. Now, for our listeners, we'll let the caller say it. So, without further ado, welcome to the show. Tell us your name, friend.
My name is Tom, and I'm from South Spring.
How you doing, Tom?
I'm great. I can't wait to talk to Dr. Leskowitz.
Tom has a very interesting story, Doctor. Why don't you go ahead and share, Tom?
Alrighty. So, I used to live in a little town called Tyringham in Massachusetts.
Oh, I think I know exactly where this is going.
That's right. I had an encounter with the Massachusetts Dream Eater.
Oh, I love this one.
We knew you would.
I've spent most of my time working on this particular creature. I've gotten so many sightings across my desk, and every time I go to investigate, I can find little things, but I can never find any tangible evidence of it.
And for those of you who don't know, why don't you give us a quick description of the Massachusetts Dream Eater?
So it's a 2-foot-tall reptile with wings. It supposedly lives in the forests of Massachusetts, and it feeds on campers. It doesn't kill them, but it sucks on their blood, sort of like a mosquito would. And while it's sucking the blood, it's also injecting venom into the victims so that they can't wake up. This venom isn't deadly, but it sure causes some terrible nightmares. The most interesting part about the Dream Eater is that every single person that has reported it described it the exact same way, which is rare. About 2 feet tall, green and brown scales, which is why we think it's a reptile. A wingspan of 5 feet and 3 toes, 2 in the front and 1 in the back. Its head also has a semi-hook looking shape to it, similar to the pterodactyl looks like, with a pointy face and a pointy back of the head. This is why I've always thought that maybe it was a distant relative of the pterodactyl. It looks like a very miniaturized version of it. It is missing the feathers that pterodactyls had, but evolution could have taken care of that. But anyway, Tom, I'm sorry. Let's hear your story.
Oh, no, don't apologize. Now I don't need to describe what I saw. You hit the nail on the head already. So I went camping with my wife one weekend a few years back, named Ruby. So Ruby and I put up our tent that night, but it was a really nice night and we wanted to sleep outside under the stars. Now, I never told my wife this because it would have scared the bejesus out of her. But while we were sleeping, that thing visited us. She was fast asleep, but I was having trouble sleeping on account of the humidity, so I was just kind of laying there with my eyes closed. I heard a weird noise and thought nothing of it. It sounded kind of like a tongue clicking, like a kind of thing. I figured it was just my wife making noises in her sleep. Within about 15 or 20 seconds after that, I started to hear a very faint noise of what sounded like someone drinking. So quick, I opened my eyes, and I swear to you, I have never been more scared in my life. I opened my eyes to see some kind of lizard-looking thing with a fang or a sucker or something stuck right into my wife's neck. I didn't scream or nothing. I didn't know if it was going to attack or what, if I made any noise. And that fang or whatever was in her, it was big. It was thick. So I didn't want anything to hurt her. I just couldn't believe she wasn't waking up. But I kept my eyes on that thing because I did not want it to come to me. After about a minute, and that was the longest minute of my life, it retracted that sucker out of her neck and pulled it back into its mouth. It made a very, and I mean very faint squawking noise before it turned to me. I saw that my eyes were open, and I think it either got mad or scared, so it made a loud screech and it flew off. As soon as it did, I jumped over to Ruby to try and shake her awake, but she wouldn't wake up. Thankfully, we had service way out there, because I pulled out my cell phone, dialed 911, and I told them she got bit by a snake, because I knew no one would believe me, but I told them she got bit by a snake, and now she wouldn't wake up. An ambulance came out, and I met them by the road with her in my arms.
Holy Christ, Tom. I'm sorry you went through that.
Thank you.
Right, but she's all right now, right? She's good?
Oh yeah, she's fine now. Like nothing ever happened.
She didn't know a thing of what happened, did she, Tom?
Not a thing.
And that's consistent with all Dream Eater stories. All of the attackers leave the victim without any knowledge of what happened.
Yeah, when she finally woke up the next day in the hospital, I was so happy. I really thought she was going to die. I didn't know what was going on. And as far as she knows, she also thinks it was a snake bite.
What do you remember about what it looked like?
Oh, I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it. It looks, and I'll never forget that screech it made when it flew off. And it did look exactly like you described it.
What did the fang look like?
It looked kind of like a spear rather than a big tooth. It was coming straight out of its mouth when it was in my wife, but when it closed its mouth, it seemed to be tucked underneath the roof of its mouth. I'd say it was no bigger than 4 inches.
4 inches? Holy crap.
That's a huge fang.
But that's consistent with other stories. That's what I find so fascinating about this one. It is the only cryptid that has the same story from each sighting.
That is one crazy story, man. Thank you for sharing it with us.
Thank you for letting me.
Yeah, and give your wife a hello from all of us, right?
I will.
Thanks, Tom. I love hearing stories like that. It really motivates me to find out what is going on with these creatures.
Yeah, I'm happy to help.
Okay, have a great day, Tom.
Bye now.
Bye.
Well, we just want to thank you so much again, Doctor, for being on our show.
Yes, it was a delight to have you on.
Thank you for having me. This was fun. I hope I can come back sometime.
Well, that's music to our ears.
Hey, and any new discoveries you have, please, can you commit to informing the public here on our show first?
Oh, good question, Luke.
I'll think about that one.
All right, well, good luck on your work, and have a great day, Doctor, okay?
Thank you, guys. You too.
Okay, that was Dr. Gloria Leskowitz, cryptozoologist. That was fun.
Well, unfortunately, we have to end it right here for you guys. But thank you all for tuning in to a very special episode of Open Your Eyes.
Yes, we hope you enjoyed this one. I'm Vic.
And I'm Luke.
And remember, open your eyes, open your mind. Goodbye, folks.
And that's why. You see, the whole thing is belief that it'll happen. But Meta just doesn't have the technology currently to allow for that to happen.